right, if I can have everybody's attention, we're going to start as close to on time as possible today. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Thank you to the board members who have traveled long distances. We have a number of honored guests with us today, none more distinguished than Governor Kay Ivey, who we are just thrilled to have join us today. Governor. This is a special day for the long-standing effort that has been made possible by Governor Ivey's really incredible vision and leadership for the state of Alabama. Governor, we've had programming already this morning that, as you know, has spoken to the immense success to date of the Innovate Alabama that began with the Innovation Commission, and we are excited as we could possibly be to have you here today. I want to thank everybody who has contributed to making this event possible, from the logistics and the planning to the work to prepare the board agenda for today, and we'll move through that agenda expeditiously as the day moves along. But this, again, is an opportunity for public leaders and the business community to join together in a collaborative fashion in a very unique and exciting public-private partnership for the state of Alabama as we think about not only the economy of today, but the economy of tomorrow. So we have also had today all of the original members of the Innovation Commission come back together to be fully briefed on the progress to date, and we are incredibly excited to have provided that update and move through our agenda today. So with no further delay, we'll call the roll.
Governor Kay Ivey.
Present.
Senator Greg Reed.
I'm here.
Senator Bobby Singleton.
Present.
Representative Anthony Daniels. Representative Danny Garrett.
Here.
Director Bill Poole.
Here.
Mrs. Brittany Somerville.
Here.
Mr. Rich Beelan.
Here.
Mr. Dave King.
Here.
Mr. Abe Harper.
Here.
Dr. Michael Chambers.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you so much. Having a quorum, I will call the board into order to conduct our business today. And as we begin, we have the unique and really incredible opportunity to hear from the governor of our state, Kay Ivey, whose vision and leadership, without that, we would not be here today. So the efforts of the Innovate Alabama board and everything that brings us to this moment is thanks to Governor Kay Ivey. Please join me in welcoming Governor Kay Ivey.
Thank y'all so much. It's certainly a pleasure to join my fellow Innovate Alabama board members to celebrate this group's achievements from the past year. Your dedication to entrepreneurship and fostering a thriving innovation ecosystem in Alabama will no doubt help shape our state for tomorrow. We have seen Innovate Alabama drive a transformative change and propel our state's economy into a new era of innovation and growth. Certainly your work in 2023 is a statement to your collective commitment to foster a culture of helping innovators grow roots in Alabama. From nurturing homegrown talent to attracting out-of-state businesses and investors, Alabama has made significant strides, and it is in large part thanks to you. So I say again, thank you. And your work isn't just about some far-off future. You're making things happen right here and now. You're promoting STEM education and entrepreneurship in our state's HBCUs. You're supporting startups and accelerators. In fact, that happens right here at Innovation Depot. You're developing vibrant tech hubs with all the right resources. You're ensuring Alabama is a place where Alabamians can not only dream, but they can achieve these dreams. I'm immensely proud of the collaborations and partnerships forged by Innovate Alabama over the course of the last 12 months. Now, as we move into 2024, I am proud today to proclaim that today, December 14th, 2023, is Innovate Alabama Day. This proclamation is to recognize the hard work of everyone in this room and to show the state's commitment to investing in homegrown talent and welcoming innovators to come grow roots here. I challenge each of you to continue working hard to ensure we are fostering an Alabama where we can all work together so Alabamians can achieve their dreams. Again, I am grateful to each of you for your service, from my fellow public officials to those in the private sector. And thanks to your hard work, I am proud to renominate our private sector board members for another term. Please join me in thanking them. Folks, the people of Alabama deserve our very best. Future generations of Alabamians deserve our hardest work today. This is our opportunity. So let's not waste a moment. Let's work together and let's go to work. May God continue to bless each of you and the great state of Alabama.
Thank you again, Governor Ivey, for joining us today and for your leadership and vision related to this very important effort. Next, we're very fortunate to be joined by the mayor of Birmingham, our host today. We're excited to be in Birmingham. Birmingham has such a wonderful story in so many ways, but particularly as it relates to innovation, technology, and a knowledge-based economy. Mayor, my colleague and my friend, Mayor Woodfin, please join us.
Hope I don't mess this up. Good afternoon, everyone. It's truly an honor to have you all Innovate Alabama here in Birmingham. Here at the Innovation Depot, the city of Birmingham and Innovation Depot are honored to host this important meeting and conference. What I can say is that I want to extend our heartfelt, sincere appreciation to Governor Ivey, who runs an entire state but took the time out of her schedule to be here for what we all deem is very important, and is Innovate Alabama. So let's give her a round of applause again. I think we have probably the coolest guest here, and that is Dr. Condoleezza Rice. Everybody, please, let's acknowledge Dr. Rice for being present with us. But a particular shout out to the board that's present, to my right, near my left, your left and right, but thank you for the work you're actually doing, not only in the public sector as elected officials, state senators, and state representatives, but those, our CEOs and leaders in the private sector too. Combine this public-private partnership is what makes Innovate Alabama, in my opinion, successful. So genuinely, I appreciate you. And then just a last acknowledgement before I say a few more words and get off the stage. To all of you all in this room that are present, this is important work and you're in it every single day. And so my appreciation is for you for being here as well, and then to all and any other elected officials that I may have missed. And as I am battling sinus drainage, please forgive my voice. But your presence, as I've stated, underscores the importance of not only today, but why we are here. I think explaining and acknowledging the why of Innovate Alabama is so important. The governor touched on it briefly when she talked about today and the present, and tomorrow and the future. And Innovate in Alabama, in my opinion, is that bridge as it relates to today and tomorrow, and as well as the present and the future. But I do want to take a step back as we consider the 67 counties, as we consider the corridor of 65, starting from Huntsville down to Birmingham, to Montgomery, to Mobile, and everything in between, the state borders of Mississippi and Georgia. In the middle of our state is Birmingham, Alabama. And believe it or not, there's some folk in this room who I would consider the choir, that we know the importance of the buzzword innovation. But as a matter of fact, if I'm being honest, here in Birmingham, innovation is not just a buzzword. It's part of our DNA. We have well-established organizations in this room, organizations who are committed to the cause of helping emerging companies and businesses and risk takers and entrepreneurs realize and grow their potential. But that can work and that can be accelerated with the assistance and support of Innovate Alabama. Birmingham, Alabama recently got the designation as a biotech hub. I don't have to tell anybody in this room that that is full proof of the city of Birmingham as well as the state of Alabama heading in the right direction, because we were the only city to receive that designation in the entire Southeast, and that is something that we should all be excited about. But this milestone puts Birmingham literally on the national map for research, for advancements in technology, for aligning well with Innovate Alabama's focus. That is on entrepreneurship as well as innovation, but it is also on talent development on those fields that I just named, board members. But most importantly, it emphasizes the critical role that Innovate Alabama has to play in that. And what does that mean? As the governor said, as we look to the future, let's remember that our strength lies in collaboration. And this is where I kind of go off script. I don't really care about partisanship. Believe it or not, standing on this stage, presenting in front of you, if you don't know, my position is nonpartisan. And I like it that way, because I think it's important if we're going to get anything right in the state of Alabama, it has to be innovation. And innovation requires us to play above anything partisan. It requires all of us, urban, rural. It requires us in the northern, center, southern parts of the state. It requires Democrats and Republicans. It requires the public sector and the private sector to work together. And it turns out when we work together, again, I'm speaking to the choir in this room, that there are more solutions than problems. And we need as many solutions and ideas and creativity and space to be at the top of innovation in our state. And so as we celebrate today's achievements and set our sights again on what the governor said, tomorrow's goals, let's renew our commitment to innovation. Let's continue to make Birmingham, as well as the entire state of Alabama, a place where every dream has the opportunity to flourish. Before I leave, again, I want to thank Governor Ivey. Dr. Rice, as always, thank you as well. I also want to thank Chairman Poole just for being you and always figuring it out for the state of Alabama. Thank you, sir. I also want to thank Ms. Crutchfield for your leadership and the entire Innovate Alabama board for being the beacon for all Alabamians, which is the word that is not a buzzword, but so important to every single Alabamian in every generation in every part of this state. Opportunity. Thank you for providing the opportunity and making these ambitious dreams a reality. Have a good rest of your conference. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, and I think you are preaching to the choir, and you gave a good sermon, so thank you. That's well received. We have another distinguished guest today. The mayor has identified her as the coolest guest that we have today, and I would concur. Again, well done, Mayor. She is an Alabamian that needs no introduction, and so I will not attempt to review her bio, but I will just tell you briefly her history of being engaged in this effort. Dr. Condoleezza Rice was a member of the original Innovation Commission that gave birth to this entire effort, and I did not know Dr. Rice before that effort began, and she told me at the beginning, and I have found it to be true and sincere, that she intended to be engaged from the beginning of that effort until the end of that effort and then beyond that effort. And the Innovation Commission has been disbanded upon the completion of work for almost 2 years, and yet we have seen Dr. Rice hold true to her word. She has remained directly involved, and she has been with us time and time again to support and encourage our efforts and to guide those efforts. And she has joined us here again today. And Dr. Rice, we are honored by your presence. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Director Poole. Thank you to the members of the board of Innovate Alabama. Thank you to your excellent leadership through Cynthia Crutchfield, her outstanding staff, and all of the partners of this magnificent effort. I am indeed an Alabamian. In fact, this very building, the old Sears building, is emblazoned on my mind because when I was 5 years old, we came here to shop and I got lost from my parents. And it was a little scary there for a while. Where are they? Where are they? I finally found them thanks to a nice sales lady who put us together. But maybe every time I walk into this building, there's a little bit of 5-year-old Condoleezza that comes in with me. But to see it transformed in this remarkable way really does speak to the transformation of Birmingham and the transformation of Alabama, that an economy that was known for steel and manufacturing has become and will become even more so an innovative, knowledge-based economy, which really is now the core of the American economy. When Governor Ivey called me and asked me to participate in the Commission on Innovation, I first said, well, you know, Governor, I haven't lived in the state in a while. And she said, I know, but when you're from Alabama, you're always from Alabama. And I think that's absolutely true. I consider this my home, and I am just grateful to everyone who is working so hard to make this a part of the innovation ecosystem of the United States of America, which, after all, as a democracy, has simply got to lead innovation across the world. It is extraordinary to hear what Innovate Alabama has achieved in this very short period of time. I was saying to Director Poole, to Bill Poole, I said, you know, I served on a lot of commissions where you took the commission report and you put it on a shelf someplace, never to be seen again. Well, that is obviously not the case here, because Innovate Alabama is off to a remarkable start in a really short period of time. Your pillars of excellence will really guide this program through talent development and access to resources, and my favorite, lifestyle and outdoor, so that we can attract the very best here, because the young talent that we want to stay in Alabama and the young talent that we want to attract to Alabama hears a lot about lifestyle and, oh, what Alabama has to offer. Not just in its natural endowments, but in its community, in its affordability, in its sense of family. This is a great place to live. It was a great place to grow up, and now it will be a great place for people to come who want to innovate and be a part of that future. I think it is also extremely important that everything that I hear about Innovate Alabama is we want to innovate, but we want to innovate with broad effect for the whole state so that everybody is included, so that people who might not think of themselves as STEM students suddenly recognize that there's a future in that, so that people in rural areas who might not recognize that there's a future in the innovation economy suddenly see that, yes, there is a future there. Because ultimately, the test of a democracy is whether all of its citizens can participate in its benefits and then return to that democracy, loyalty, energy, and commitment. And so what you do here at Innovate Alabama is a model of what this country needs to do. Rely on its states, its localities, Mayor Woodfin, to be able to bring to its citizens a better life. And so I'm grateful for the day that Governor Ivey brought me into her vision. I'm grateful for the work that the commission did and to have been a part of that. And I'm even more grateful for what is coming and has already been achieved by this remarkable collaboration between civil society, the business community, the academic community, and all of Alabama. Thank you very much, and I look forward to many years ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Rice. And Mayor Woodfin alluded to the fact that there are institutions and entities that are in existence in Birmingham and have been for some time that are essential to the innovation ecosystem here. And we're fortunate to be in one of those locations today here in Innovation Depot. And Brooke Gillis, the Executive Director, we want to thank you for all the work to host us today, but for all the work that occurs here to support innovation. Brooke Gillis.
I love it how you just said, I'd like to go off script. So I'm going to go off script right from the beginning, Mayor Woodfin. I love that. So first off, this is amazing. Like seeing all of your faces. I know so many people in here. And I've met so many people today. Like, thank you for coming out. Thank you for coming to the Innovation Depot and supporting Innovate Alabama. I'm Brooke Gillis. I am the CEO here, as he mentioned. And we are a nonprofit incubator that's hosts 140 startups. This building is 140,000 square feet, and there is some magic happening in these walls. We have a variety of types of startups, from fintech to biotech to energy tech, sustainability, and they are in all types of levels, from early stage founders to later stage founders. And our job is to create programming and to wrap our arms around these founders and to help them at every single stage of their journey. In this building, we have created over 1,500 jobs, and next year we hope to have an economic impact of over $5 million. I want to say we are beyond proud to have you here today because we believe that there are so many in this room that have been recipients of all the work that Innovate Alabama has done. Our team has been a recipient of two of them, the Innovate Alabama tax credit as well as the network designation. Thank you, Cynthia. And so we are honored. It will truly change the lives of so many entrepreneurs because of what we have been given here at the Innovation Depot. Many in this room, I'm seeing faces that have also been recipients of the supplemental grant application. I've seen lots of cheers and waves. And so this is the best place for you to have this meeting because y'all are getting to see the heartbeat of innovation. You're getting to see and what is happening in these walls where these entrepreneurs are heads down working day in and day out to create the next big product. So thank you, Cynthia. Thank you to the entire team. You are changing the lives of so many in this room and so many over the entire state of Alabama. So thanks for being here.
All right, thank you, Brooke, again for hosting us today and for everything that occurs here at Innovation Depot. We're going to move into the business section of our agenda today and begin by discussing and approving the minutes of the October 24, 2023 board meeting minutes. Those minutes have been distributed to the board in advance of the meeting today. Are there any questions or comments? All right, a motion by Senator Reed and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The meetings of the October 24, 2023 board meeting have been approved. With that, I will turn the floor over to Innovate Alabama's CEO, Cynthia Crutchfield.
Thank you, Chairman Poole. And I'm going to move very quickly so that we can get back on schedule because we do have a full day today. So I'm just going to give everyone sort of a recap of the year 2023. It's been a long year, but I think that we have had many, many successes. And I'm really excited about next year and how we'll move the programming forward. Just to highlight on talent attraction and retention, we've touched over 1,400 students across the state. That makes up over 9 regions and over 20 internships that have been provided to students. We visited all of the HBCU organizations across the state, and we'll continue that as we go into next year. One of the exciting things we have upcoming that you'll hear about a little bit later is the statewide hackathon that we'll be working on. We're very excited about that, as well as the Emerging Scholars Program that we'll be rolling out next year. Access to capital, our labor of love, that's the way we refer to it always and probably always will. And I think that's where we make really, really good progress in terms of supporting our entrepreneurs across the state. I'm not going to talk about those programs in detail because you will hear from the program managers and the individuals who are running those programs, so I'm going to roll over that. Finally, lifestyle and recreation. The seemingly thing that doesn't fit fits very nicely with what we're trying to do with innovation. At some point, I'm actually going to stop saying that, probably when I stop getting questions around how does the outdoor rec piece fit with innovation. I think over the last year, we've tried to amplify that story so that we can help everyone make the connection as to how that fits and why it fits with what we're doing. So that's a quick summary of what we're doing. I'm going to move right into the staffing portion of this report. I'm happy to say that we are finally moving forward with staffing. So we are expanding our team. We've worked very hard over the last few months to identify talent that can help us move the organization forward. We're still working on several additional employees that we'll be bringing on board, but I'd like to just talk about the fact that we've laid out our structure that I think supports our programs, and I think it supports the priorities that have been laid out by the commission and by the board, and we'll continue to work in that vein. So at this time, I would like to ask Chairman Poole to do the resolution for our staffing piece.
Sure. So a organizational chart has been distributed to the board meeting in advance of today. I hope everybody's had an opportunity to review that. Are there any questions or thoughts related to that proposal for an organizational chart? If none, do I hear a motion to adopt the same?
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or comments? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The organizational chart has been adopted and approved. Thank you, Cynthia.
Very good, thank you. And I think that's a resolution for staff. This piece.
All right, a resolution has also been circulated to the board related to providing Ms. Crutchfield with authority to offer compensation to staffers up to $250,000 exclusive of benefits without requiring board approval. I trust everybody's had an opportunity to review that draft resolution. Do I hear any questions or comments or a motion? I have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. Approval has been granted. Thank you, Cynthia.
Thank you very much. That will certainly make things easier. One of the things I'd like to do with that approval of the resolution, we do have a couple of members in the room that we have recently brought on board, that we're bringing on board now that the resolution has passed. I'm going to ask Kelly McNair and Shannon Allen to please stand in the room wherever you are. So these are two of our new staff members and definitely more to come. We're excited about bringing these resources on board. So you have other people to call now. No, I don't answer. Call Kelly, call Shannon. We're excited about that. Thank you all for that. Okay, so moving right along, we will get into the programming piece. We're going to hear from the talent development team. Senator Singleton, If you do that introduction.
Test, test. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and to the board. I would like to introduce the talent pillar today, the innovative first statewide hackathon presented in collaboration with Alabama Power, USA SBE, UAB Colette School of Business, and the Alabama Collective and the Montgomery Tech Lab. This program is an expansion of UAB's Hatchery and Hackathon, making it a statewide program recruiting teams primarily from our state four-year colleges and universities, inclusive of our HBCUs. Our goal for this program is to engage students, teams to create solutions around the statewide problem while promoting innovation and problem solving across the next generation. We will recruit students from all majors and disciplines to participate. This program aligns efforts and interests to support rural innovation. Solutions must be sustainable and can only rely on minimum government support. It must also be a unique solution that is not currently being done in the state. At this time, Madam Chairman, I would like to bring on Ms. Cherise Stokes to give us an update on this pillar of talent development.
Thank you, Senator Singleton. So I think he just took half my speech, right? Next chart, Jordan. So what we're doing with the Innovate Alabama Hackathon, and how many people have heard of a hackathon before? Like, do you really know what they're doing there? So let's talk a little bit about that. When we say it's a hackathon, it's an opportunity to solve a problem. It's an opportunity to bring individuals together, to collaborate, to think about, and to also really make not just informed decisions, but to collect data and to say, this is a way that we can solve a current problem that we have. When we worked on the Innovation Commission, one of those problems that were identified was rural innovation. Access to capital, access to training as well. This hackathon is truly bringing students together to work on that problem. Who better to give us great innovative ideas than the talent that we have across the state? So when we looked at our ability throughout the HBCU innovation experience, we started with 4 phases in our approach, and that was to expose, to educate, to engage and empower. So when we look at this hackathon, we're doing just that. We're exposing students to all areas across the state of Alabama, but we're also educating them and providing them with world-class training. So that partnership with UAB is a partnership with their entrepreneurship center. They're providing the training to those students. When we looked at how many students are going to participate, our ability to engage our HBCUs, over half of those teams that are participating in this attend current HBCUs right now across the state. But when we will come back here on the 10th of January, right in this very room at Innovation Depot, because we want to show them what innovation looks like in the state. They need to be in the place. They need to see other individuals that are doing that work. Sometimes when we go to campuses and we talk to students, they need to see themselves in us. And so this is bringing those founders that are doing the work now to stand in front of them and tell them, what is it really like to start a business? But we also have individuals that are helping within that ecosystem, those that are funders, facilitators, that are running accelerator programs, incubation programs. They are there to share, how do you move across that journey? So we're excited to have that, but now we empower them. And how do you empower a college student? You empower them with money. You give them funding, and you show them the initiative to get that work done and to bring that idea truly to reality. So not only are we excited about the first ever Innovate Alabama Hackathon, we're excited to bring so many students into this tech and innovation and entrepreneurial community and ecosystem and show them real world. This is how it works, and this is how you can get that done. So thank you for your support. We're excited to have you all there. So please join us here and then at BJCC to hear their pitches, and then we'll try to help them make that a reality. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Stokes. We're excited about this event happening in January. We'd like to ask all of you to come out and join us. Mr. Chairman, I turn it back over to you.
Ready? Okay. Next up, we have access to capital. We'll do that update. And first, we'll hear from Dr. Chambers, who will introduce the supplemental grant program.
Great. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to give an update on the access to capital resources. It's great to see such a great crowd here in Birmingham and so many familiar faces. The biggest problem small businesses and entrepreneurs have is lack of money. We all have good ideas, but money is what makes the business grow. And unfortunately, there is a period of time affectionately known as the Valley of Death for very good reasons. It's long, it's wide, and it's deep, and like the desert has no water, the Valley of Death has no money because the technology is too young, too undeveloped, or the product is just not proof of concept. There are a couple of federal programs called SBIR or STTR or SIBR. If you've heard of those, raise your hand. All right, great. Those help cover the Valley of Death, but a number of states have programs that actually match the funding in a phase 1 or a phase 2 of those awards. And through the vision of the leadership of the legislature, we have a program for supplemental funding. If you receive one of those awards from the federal government, we can actually match a phase 1 up to $100,000 or phase 2 up to $250,000, I should say. The team that was actively involved in that is my colleague Dave King and Ms. Brittany Somerville, but none of this would have happened without the assistance of the Economic Development Partnership of Alabama, led by Greg Barker and particularly Vice President Miller Gervin. And I'm delighted to call on Miller to give an update on actually what's been done through this program. Miller?
Thank you, Michael. And I'm really glad to see that number of hands go up when you talk about who's familiar with what an SBI or STTR is. That is not a typical number that goes up. So there's often a lot of explanation affiliated with that. But really glad to be with all of you today and excited for all the great work that Innovate Alabama is doing and all of the festivities for today. A big thanks, as Michael said, to Cynthia, to Michael himself, Dave, the committee that has worked on reviewing all of these supplemental grant applications and ultimately the disbursement of those funds. So this is the longest running program of Innovate Alabama. It's been going for a whopping 18 months, but that it is continuing and it is having a great impact. So, all right, good. A quick recap. So we have had, there are a bunch of numbers up here you can all read, but we have had to date, through 3 cycles of applications, we've had 108 applications that the committee has reviewed. That resulted in 65 awards to 52 unique companies across Alabama. So that is all non-dilutive funding for those companies. So it is helping them grow and not taking an ounce of equity. Anecdotally, actually, hold on, I'm going to back up. On geography, Birmingham and Huntsville are definitely heavily represented in those 52 companies, but we're glad to have had grantees from Prattville, Tuscaloosa, Auburn, to name a few. We've also had 10 female-owned companies and 10 minority-owned companies. So really excited about the diversity, geographic, gender, and racial diversity that's represented there. And in terms of how we track this, each of these recipient companies is required to submit a report every 6 months until they've spent all their funds, which has to happen within 18 months. So we get 3 reports from them until their final one. And we collect numbers of jobs created and retained in the state, money raised, commercialized products, and intellectual property activity. And early numbers indicate that from those reports that we've received, that roughly 200 jobs have already been retained or created in Alabama as a result of that funding. So that is a number we're really excited to see right now and excited to see continue growing. So anecdotally, you should not be surprised that those companies have been really happy with those grants. Again, non-dilutive, free money. One right here in the depot that some of the commission members heard from earlier, Analytical AI, has leveraged those funds into hiring 2 key people that then allowed them to pursue a huge federal contract. They won that contract. They would not have been able to hire those people without the Innovate Alabama funding. So that's huge. Another company, Gene Capture, up in Huntsville, led by commission member, actually, Peggy Salmon, has received both Phase 1 and Phase 2 grants and has created 9 jobs and retained another 7 in the state. So those companies are making a big difference. And while the program is absolutely available to Alabama companies and will open again in January, so for those of you who have awards, be sure. Keep tabs. But we are excited that, and board members, you all know this, but we're excited to look forward to outside of Alabama. So the legislation that was passed this past legislative cycle tweaked the statute to allow for some outside marketing to outside companies. Those companies will then be required to relocate to Alabama. So that's yet another business attraction opportunity for the state of Alabama in really high growth areas. And the EDPA Business Intelligence Team has worked through a list of about 30,000 of those recipients, starting to pinpoint NAICS codes, industry focuses, figure out how we do a great job at attracting those companies utilizing that program. So there's $5 million available. You all know this. We're really excited to see where this company, oh, there's 7. Oh, look at that. We just gained $2 million. Sweet. I wish that could happen every day. So $7 million, even better, available for supplemental funding. So really excited to see that program continue to grow and thrive in Alabama. So thanks.
One final thing before turning it back over. If you notice anything about the effort here, it's very collaborative, not just among people from throughout different parts of the state, but parties and every level of government. And I just noticed Ellen McNair from Montgomery, who will be our next Secretary of Commerce, was in the crowd. Is she still here? Ellen, are you here? Okay. Well, that's a demonstration of when we talk about attracting out-of-state companies, we fully intend to work with the Department of Commerce and Ellen when she takes office in January. But we really appreciate the collaboration. Ms. Crutchfield, thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we will have Representative Garrett introduce the SSBCI program, and then he will follow with the tax credit program.
Thank you, Ms. Crutchfield. Today we'll hear an update on the SSBCI program, which is the State Small Business Credit Initiative Program. We need to hear information about why this is so important to the state. And also there are things happening in the capital market right now that amplify the need for this program. We will hear from 2 individuals, Mr. Walt Postlethwaite, who's the program manager for the debt program, and Mr. Rodney Sampson, who's a program manager for the venture capital equity program, who will discuss the changes and provide us an update and let us know how we'll be impacted. At this time, I'd like to recognize Mr. Postlethwaite.
Thank you, Representative Garrett. Good afternoon, Board. I'm Walt Postlethwaite. I am the program manager for the debt piece of SSBCI. This program is providing credit enhancements to the lenders in Alabama so they can say yes to the loan requests for our small businesses. Since we spoke last, about 3 months ago, we have been talking to more and more businesses, and a question keeps coming up. So if we are being asked, I figure you're being asked, so I thought I would share some information. That question is, why do we need SSBCI right now in Alabama? Well, credit's getting harder and harder to obtain by small businesses. I'm seeing some small businesses actually nod as I say that. In fact, the St. Louis Federal Reserve reports that this calendar year alone, the commercial portfolio that all of the banks in this country hold has not increased. It has actually decreased by about $250 billion. And this is after it increased from 2.35 trillion in 2019 to 2.8 trillion last year. So we are seeing the effects. Banks are beginning to be much more restrictive. But that doesn't mean that they don't have the capacity to lend. The Tier 1 capital ratio is kind of a proxy. This is a little bit of a geekish thing I'm a banker at heart. This represents the ability for a commercial bank to lend. So when we look at our state of Alabama, which is the red line, with our neighboring states, you can see that generally there's an upward trend. What that means is their equity, their net worth, their capacity to lend has actually been increasing over the last 2 years. But as I mentioned, overall in this country, we're seeing lending stagnant. There's a reason why. There's more risks right now in lending. We've been talking about recessions, we're talking about losses, and these concerns are beginning to manifest themselves. So this is a quick snapshot of PNC's non-owner occupied real estate. When loans go past due, they have to be reported to Federal Reserve, and this is what we're seeing. And if you look just at the far side there, you can see a giant spike at the end of third quarter this year. What we are seeing in the banking environment is more and more past dues. This is a concern for the banks, and this is why they are beginning to be much more conservative with their lending. However, Alabama and the banks in the South seem to be weathering this. Often, our economy here kind of lags behind in some trends, so I'm hoping that this continues. You can see the past dues in our banks in Alabama and our neighboring states have been fairly flat. But this doesn't mean that this is not a concern of our bankers. So with the credit enhancements that we're going to be able to have, this will be another reason for the banks to say yes, and hopefully this past due will stay flat. So as we've been working the last 3 months to get this program ready, hopefully for a launch in early 2024, we have been making much progress. We have been focused on all of the infrastructure so we can start enrolling banks after the new year. Once we get the banks enrolled, we had 30 banks active in SSBCI 1.0. We're looking to have about 50 in 2.0. These pieces are coming together. So it is our hope and our expectation that we will be launching sometime in first quarter. And with that, I will turn it over to the VC side of SSBCI.
All right, good afternoon. Absolutely. To the board, Cynthia, give you a quick update on SSBCI. My name is Rodney Sampson. I'm the program manager for the venture capital and equity side of the program. Why venture capital in Alabama? Just to give you a quick snapshot, the states to your left, from Massachusetts to Michigan, have over $700 million annually in current venture capital. States to the right, starting with Alabama, have less than $700 million as well. That being said, venture capital funding in Alabama is growing while other states are seeing declines. The $25 million public match from the federal government, along with the private match of $25 million, will be a $50 million infusion of early stage venture capital into the state of Alabama. $9 million of that capital is slated for the venture capital fund to funds program. And what that means is we will actually become investors in venture funds, and then those venture funds will in turn invest that capital into high growth early stage startups. The direct investment and the co-investment program will have $16 million. In that program, we will join forces with angel investors, accelerators, and other venture capital funds and syndicates that are investing in high growth startups in the state of Alabama. Just to give you an update on our process of operationalizing the program, our standard operating procedures are created. Our policy and procedure document, we have a firm draft on that. We have drafts of our side letters for the venture capital funds, and we have a draft of our side letter for the startups as well. Those side letters are important because they basically allow Treasury's guidelines for compliance and reporting to talk to industry guidelines as well. The certifications that we check for insider conflicts, sex offender status, and SETI, which is an acronym for socially and economically disadvantaged individuals, are created as well. Everyone participating in the program will have to complete those certifications, and we're continuing our consistent outreach to Alabama and the National Venture Capital Funds and talking to venture-backable founders and startup ecosystem builders on the ground as well. This program, in conclusion, has an unprecedented opportunity to infuse early-stage capital into Alabama's ecosystem. The good thing about the program is that all of the future profits that hopefully the companies will return to Innovate Alabama can stay in the state of Alabama to reinvest it into the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Now I would like to provide a brief status of the Innovate Alabama tax program. We are enthusiastic about the progress we've made in this Innovate Alabama tax credit program in such a short period of time. To date, we've awarded $24 million in tax credits since rollout in June, and we have just over $1 million available to support the final projects, which will be presented for approval today. We've approved 18 economic development organizations, both state and local, which includes 7 new participant in tax credit programs. Collectively, the approved EDOs represent 15 projects. These projects include tech accelerators, incubators, and workforce development, but just a small sampling of the work the program has spurred across the state. Looking forward into 2024, we engage in discussions about how to improve the program in future years. The awardees thus far are making progress and on track to claim the awarded credits before the end of the year. So this time, Ms. Crutchfield, I'd like to turn this over to you for some presentations.
Okay, and I'm going to go very quickly. So for this period, we've approved 2 EDOs, 2 new EDOs. We have 2 projects that we're submitting today, one with Bronze Valley, one's with EDPA. Their ask is $550,000 for Bronze Valley, and they will use those funds to convene space for their venture lab. So do you want to go ahead and take a vote on that one? And reminding board members that if you have a conflict of interest, please identify that as we go through the vote.
So are there any questions by the board related to the recommended tax credit award to Bronze Valley as described by Cynthia and submitted in your packets? Second. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. That tax credit to Bronze Valley has been awarded.
Okay, second item is EDPA, ask is $50,000. We're recommending $500,000. We're recommending that $500,000. They intend to use the funds to provide a revolving loan program for the Wiregrass.
All right, are there any questions regarding that tax credit application as recommended for approval by Cynthia Crutchfield? Do I hear a motion? Have a motion? Second. And I have a second. All in favor say aye. Aye. The tax credit award to EDPA for the purposes described by Ms. Crutchfield has been approved. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we'll invite Brittany to introduce the network designation program.
Thank you, Cynthia. Before I get to the network designation program, I do want to comment on something Mayor Woodman said that stuck with me. He asked us to renew our commitment to innovation. And the reason why I'm reiterating that with everyone is there's never been such an audience at this board meeting before. Maybe we should add more cool kids to our agenda in the future. But I'm very excited everybody's here. And I mean, just looking out at the crowd from founders to investors, entrepreneurs, program leaders. There's a lovely swath of individuals here that can make things happen and are making things happen in this state. And the opportunity that Innovate Alabama has presented our state is unprecedented. We've never had this opportunity of basically funding just pumped into our state related to entrepreneurialism and innovation. So it's a unique opportunity, and as our mayor said earlier, it's a great opportunity or time for us all to focus on a renewed commitment to innovation. So with that said, I want to move on to an update on our network designation program. So we're going to look back on the round we've already had, which has been very successful, and also turn our attention to the present momentum of round 2, and also the strategic priorities attached to that. We're proud to report that round 2 already has 11 applicants in diverse regions of the state, and that signals the growing impact across the state as well. This response not only reflects the widespread appeal of the initiative, but also underscores our commitment to fostering innovation in every corner of Alabama. As we discuss the outcomes of the last round and delve into the details of the current applications, we also lay out our program priorities for the coming year. These priorities are designed to further amplify our reach and deepen our impact, particularly in underserved communities. Now I'd like to introduce Eve Littau. Y'all, these names are hard. Eve Littau from HRNA, who will provide insights into our past achievements and help ensure the roadmap for next year.
Awesome. Thank you, Brittany. Thank you all for having me. For those of you who don't know, my name is Eve Littau. A lot of you have already heard me speak about the Network Designation Program, and I'm here to speak about it again. So first and foremost, what is the Innovate Alabama Network? This is a coalition of partners across the state who are committed to promoting entrepreneurship and innovation in their own communities. They signal their support through an application process where we give funding to them as well. So when I talk about our partners, who I'm talking about are nonprofit organizations, our 501c3s, our higher education institutions, 2 and 4 year, and also our communities, which include our municipalities, counties, towns, and Native American tribes. If any of this is you, you should think about joining the Innovate Alabama Network. What the network does is it creates a coalition of these partners. It provides you as a partner with up to $250,000 just for entering the network. This funding is to be used for an innovation-related project that aligns with our pillars. Additionally, when entering the network through a competitive application process, you earn ongoing access to the Innovate Alabama Network, which as we move through this second year, we hope to roll out additional benefits. And right now, we have our second round open, and we're welcoming applications for both entrance into the network and also supplemental grant opportunities for those members who are already in the network. Just to talk a little bit about our last round. So we had a really successful last round. I see a lot of our members in the crowd today, which is incredibly exciting. We admitted about 51 members into our network from all over the state. And we dispersed with that $9.3 million to specific projects related to expanding innovation across Alabama. With that, we distributed funding to 30 entities, 11 communities, and 10 educational institutions. Within our entities, we funded a wide array of nonprofits, funding different areas such as life science to entrepreneurship to even some social services. Within our communities, we mostly funded our cities, those core cities, our urban centers, but we're looking to expand the opportunity to our rural communities in this next round. And then within our educational institutions, the majority, or about half of the funding, a little over half, went to our PWIs, but we had a really great turnout from our HBCUs from both 2 and 4 year colleges. As we turn to this next round, the next round is currently open. It closes on January 5th at 5 p.m. Right now, I've processed about 11 applications, but my inbox is quickly filling with more requests to join the network and to provide supplemental grants. And so for this next round, we have about $7 million, and this will be the only round we have for this 2024 year. And then looking forward beyond just this grant funding portion, I want to speak a little bit about the priorities that we have for this, for the program as it moves forward. So right now we've been focused on getting funding out the door, but as we move into the next year, we're looking to expand our programmatic opportunities to our partners. So instead of just grants, we're looking to expand entrepreneurship trainings, potentially convenings for our partners. We want to become a capacity building organization as much as a funding program. We also would love to increase our participation from some of the communities that we missed in this first round. So we got less participation from our rural communities, specifically thinking about the Shoals and the Black Belt. So we hope to continue and to solicit more involvement from these communities through targeted outreach. We also are going to launch the Innovate Alabama Network Asset Map, which is it is a map online that you can see all of the innovation assets across the state that anyone is able to use and to explore themselves. And then lastly, at the end of 2024, we hope to launch round 3, where there will be additional funding and applications will be open for our partners. And with that, I will pause for any questions. No questions, and I will turn it over to, I think, Dave King.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Next up is the Innovate Alabama website, which we have been working on for quite a little while. We're going to ask Mr. Dave King to do the introduction on that.
My honor, privilege to talk to you today about the update to the website. There have been a whole lot of phone calls and catching people in the hallways and other things to find out how to go about entering some of these programs. The folks on this board, specifically Cynthia and her team, have done yeoman's work in trying to help answer your questions. So we've been about that for quite some time to improve the overall experience when visiting the site. And today we're thrilled to introduce this new site. It was soft launched last Friday. I've had the opportunity to look at it a bit. I hope you have as well. I think it's a lot better and improved. It will continue to evolve, obviously, as our programs evolve and as data becomes available. We'll continue to update that, but I think this is a tremendous step forward for us to get information out timely and thorough through the entire ecosystem. The team has also placed some computers around if you haven't had a chance to look at the site. And there's some of these note cards around that will help you get there quickly if you need that as well. I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Dan Gavin to present a quick review of the site.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us. I'm Dan Gavin. I work at Big Communications here down the street. And, it's just a great pleasure to be here and to be a part of this process and launch this website. As you mentioned, Dave, it is a soft launch, so we kind of are building as we go. With many websites that we handle at Big Communications, we don't like to just set it and forget it. So we will continue to be a partnership with Cynthia and the team and the board to kind of keep things evolving. So as we go through here, just kind of want to get this going. And so we kind of knew that, from the start, we had the iteration of the site, we were tasked with elevating the audience needs and goals by providing key data, assets, stories, resources, and basically just being a partner in their endeavor. So this iteration, as you can see, it's just been a little modernized. It's bringing these key stats that we're seeing throughout the day brought right to the front so that they are aware of what's available to them, what's been doled out, and what is coming next. So we kind of wanted to use those things and use that tone to draw everyone in and help them understand. Bringing key stories that help them bring to light what's available to them, who's involved in the community throughout this state, and things like that. So we also have entrepreneurs, investors, and talent. We wanted to provide a way to allow the audience members to kind of self-select where they feel they fit in this process. Obviously, they can navigate the site on their own, but just providing these tunnels and these brand messages to kind of help draw them in on this path and bring them along. You know, there's an extensive amount of programming. We built this site in a modern platform so it can continue to grow. So, you know, what you're seeing today might, and thankfully will change in the years to come, and, you know, we'll have all the tools available to do that. And if not, we can task them with, you know, signing up, receiving information to bring information to them so that as we grow as a partnership and the programs grow, they're aware of those interests as they come along. And then we had to identify a couple different, there we go, you know, the different audiences, right? So we have entrepreneurs, we have investors, and talent. Those are the three key audience members that we're talking to. So we wanted to treat the areas of their website in more of a landing page atmosphere so that the team can direct link to these areas. They knew that's provided information for them, and it provides key insights like where to find investors, funding, what programs relate directly to the information that they need. So it's just brought way more to the front. They don't have to do the digging that's current, you know, in the past, so they can just get to the information they need. On all the pages you just heard from HRNA, we worked closely with them on an asset map and a network map. That network map will be accessible through this site as well. That will be coming and rolling out shortly, and we're really thrilled to be partnershiped on that. So that's a huge asset to bring into these different audience members as well. And as you dive into an actual program in itself, we knew we had a lot of information, and we had to set up a system that would allow them to kind of grow, add their own unique information in terms of stats, deadlines, key application platforms, and things like that. We couldn't just kind of roll it all into one system that we dictated. We had to allow it to grow, make sure that they can understand if they're eligible but prior to even applying, so they understand what they're getting into and what's available to them right out of the gate. And then lastly, on the, you know, very similar audience, the talent development. This is a huge section that needed to be paid attention to. It will continue to grow as well. And making sure that we have talent in state that wants to stay in state, and we can bring talent to the state and make sure they have exactly what they need and ready to go from there. So things like Emerging Scholars, Fuel Alabama, which you've heard from earlier today as well, HBCU Innovation Experiences. So bringing all these tools right to the forefront for them so they understand this is dedicated and curated just specifically for them. And then that is all on the kind of rollout, and as they mentioned, there is a QR code at the end of the slides. If you just visit innovatealabama.org, you can check it out on your phones and your devices right now. We do have a lot of great features coming in the future. One of them we're currently working on is Innovation AI Assistant. So thankfully those phone calls will stop happening directly to you guys, and we can get that rolling, and it'll answer all the questions real time using live data from the site as it's learning and progressing right now. So thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And Abe, you are up.
Thank you, Dan. And I'll turn it back over to Cynthia.
Thank you so much. We're very excited about that website. I'm already receiving very, very positive feedback from the site. So keep your comments coming. If you have ideas about how we can improve things that you want to see on the site, please don't hesitate to let us know. Next up, we will do the lifestyle and outdoor rec. We're going to ask Abe Harper to go ahead and do that introduction.
Great, thank you, Madam CEO. Mr. Chairman, we've got an exciting update on our Outdoor Recreation Council. Our Outdoor Rec Council has engaged our selected partner, Big Communications, to begin working on and guide the creation of the Outdoor Recreation website and its associated asset map. That team has already hit the ground running, laying the groundwork for the site itself, and more importantly, doing discovery and understanding from stakeholders what that site's workflow, facilitation, and use cases and content will look like. You'll recall that they were charged with some very specific initiatives, and that was to collaborate with existing outdoor initiatives, leverage the existing work around the state already being done, and then deduplicate any efforts so that we don't have multiples of the same thing. Having just seen an example of Big Communications work in the website sphere, I think I can say with certainty we're excited about what's to come with regard to that, and a central place for all things outdoor recreation to exist. So to give us a little more news and excitement around it, I'd like to invite our friend Commissioner Chris Blankenship to, oh, he's already behind me, to come up and share a little bit more of an update. Commissioner?
Thanks, Abe. I appreciate the opportunity to serve as the chairman of the Outdoor Recreation Council for Innovate Alabama. We have a great group of 11 members that are on the permanent council, and we had an opportunity to meet in November, or late October, early November, to go through those 13 recommendations and to put some things in place to start realizing action on those recommendations. Appreciate the update that you gave about the website and the work that's going on with that. I will just say that we have, one of the things that the group identified were several what I call low-hanging fruit or opportunities for us in the outdoor recreation space in Alabama to be able to make some strides there, to add to what we already have, to give us some recognition of some of the great things we have in Alabama. One of those is the International Mountain Bike Association Silver designation. There's only 16 of those sites in the country that have that designation, and so we're working with some funding to do work at Oak Mountain State Park with all the trails out there to grow that and add the skills park and some other things. And then I had a meeting just last night over in Anniston with the people around Coldwater Mountain, which have world-class mountain bike facilities and trails there that we really need to expand. And so if we can pretty easily, I think, get both of those sites IMBA Silver designation in 2024 or early 25, which would be great for us to be one of only, I guess, 18 sites in the country that will have that. And then we'd like to add more. And then working on the Pinhoti Trail, the Pinhoti Trail Commission met over the last quarter as well. We're going to do some community outreach up and down the trail to try and find the biggest return on investment for the money for the work that we want to do on the trail to get to get that trail to be a National Park Service recreational scenic trail designated as one of the few places in Alabama that and in the Southeast that would have that. And then just as information for the board, I shared earlier, there's a lot of other work going on in the outdoor rec space, not necessarily through Innovate, but because of the work of Innovate that has shined a spotlight on a lot of the opportunities that we have in outdoor recreation and brought the talk in different, both on the private sector and in the legislature and other places on ways, and we found ways that we can capitalize on that through the Department of Conservation and our many partners around the state. So right now we have about $150 million in upgrades that are taking place at our state parks due to some bond funding, money that we've brought in from other places, partnerships that we have with other state agencies, and then work on the coast with some of the Deepwater Horizon oil spill funds. And so I'll say in my lifetime, I don't know that we've ever had $150 million of work going on in our state parks. So I'm excited about bringing those up to a really first class that we can all enjoy. And be proud of here in the state. And we're spending about $25 million with some state funding and matching federal funds to do some shooting sports upgrades throughout the state shooting sports facilities. That's a growing segment of outdoor recreation. And then there's about $50 million in bee tree nourishment that's going on in Mobile and Baldwin counties right now. So if you haven't been down to the coast over the winter, to see that work that's going on. When next time you go back, there'll be a few more 100 feet of beach out there that you didn't have before, but that really is very important for those coastal economies and people that go to the beach to have that work done. And so there's many fronts that things are taking place in this space. Appreciate the opportunity to continue to work with the partners around the state. And then one other thing I'll add to the board is the governor's one-shot turkey hunt we do every 2 years. That's coming up April the 1st through the 3rd. And that is a economic development opportunity that we use, take the God-given natural resources we have in Alabama and use that to grow the economy here. So that is where we bring in, we have about 70 landowners that open up their properties. We bring in economic developers or people, CEOs or presidents of companies that are either looking to expand in Alabama or to move to Alabama and show them what a great time we have here in Alabama and put different people together so that they can talk business and do that in the great outdoors. And so that's just a kind of a snapshot of how we can use the outdoors in Alabama in this space. So thank you all so very much.
Thank you, Commissioner, for that, and I'll turn the floor back over at this time to Ms. Crutchfield. This concludes our report.
Okay, we're getting close. Hold on just a little while longer. So next up, we have the governance model. As we've sort of evolved the organization, we want to take a look at governance. Mr. Rich Beelan will give you sort of a snapshot of what we're looking at.
Thank you, Cynthia. Mr. Chairman, as we've heard today, we've had an extremely impactful year of rolling out programs and standing up the official Innovate Alabama office. It's time now to ensure the organization is positioned to continue its success for years to come. As such, we are proposing a governance model that will enhance the organization and provide necessary checks and balances as we continue to advance the mission of supporting entrepreneurs and innovators across the state. The proposed model includes 3 subcommittees. The first, Governance, Human Resources, and Risk, which will be focused on maintaining accountability, transparency, and responsibility. The second subcommittee would be Finance, focused on financial oversight and review of budgetary considerations. And the third subcommittee would be Policy, focused on policy guidance and awareness. The proposed charter for each subcommittee is included in your packet. Each charter includes the proposed mission, membership, authority, and responsibilities, meeting cadence, and reporting requirements. We'd like to propose kickoff of the subcommittees in early 2024. Mr. Chairman, I move that we adopt the 3 subcommittee charters.
Thank you, Rich, for your presentation and for outlining the charters that have been presented to the board members. We do have a motion. Is there a second? Second. All right, having a motion and a second, are there any questions, thoughts, or comments regarding the governance model and the subcommittee structure that has been proposed? And I guess I will lead by saying I think that this is an excellent structure to allow the board to be engaged very directly in those targeted areas of the governance of the entity. We are stewards of public money, and we take that very seriously. We've had many discussions about that, and I think this will help us ensure adherence to every level of protocol that we need. I would also suggest, as we think about populating the subcommittees, if members will let us know what subcommittee you believe you have the most passion and subject matter interest in, we will attempt to populate those subcommittees as quickly as reasonably possible. And I would just close by saying we'll take any suggestions as to membership of the committees. But I think, and I would observe personally and for the audience, this is a demonstration once again of the level of commitment that the board members have to dedicate the time, attention, and energy to the proper stewardship of this entity and this effort. And I truly commend the board for raising this as an issue to be addressed. This did not come from me. This came organically from the board, and I thank the board for your work on that. So with that, are there any questions or comments on the motion before the board? Is there a, I'm sorry, I'll call the vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, nay. The subcommittee structure is adopted, and we will work to initiate that structure or to activate early in the new year. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we'll have the legislative priorities by Senator Greg Reed.
Thank you, Cynthia. I appreciate so much the opportunity. Being at the end of the program, I get to kind of have the ability to see what has transpired and remind us in summary a little bit of some things that we're excited about. First off, I want to thank the governor. I appreciate her coming today. And also Dr. Rice. Dr. Rice asked me in an earlier meeting to call her Condi. I just couldn't hardly do that. Madam Secretary, is what I wanted to call her. But she's a great friend to Alabama and to this group. I want to thank the chairman, Chairman Poole, Director Poole, my friend. He's done a fabulous job in leading this organization. I know he's proud to have his lovely wife with him today. He got her a chair earlier so she could sit down. But that was a smart move, Mr. Chairman.
I'm learning.
Also, let me thank the board members. And let me point out that we all learned something from the governor of Alabama today, board members. Did you notice how the governor appointed you once again in front of the entire group without asking for any response? So I learned something from the governor today. Man, that's the way to do it. Y'all didn't say a word, did you? Moved right on. Well, I want to thank the board members. As the chairman said, man, there's been a lot of meetings. There's been a lot of engagement here, and folks have been very diligent with their time, energies, and intellect to be able to devote that to Innovate Alabama. Cynthia, you and your team done a fabulous job. We're very appreciative of all that you've done. You were a great choice and you have proven it daily, and this meeting is no exception, so thank you so much for that. So with those topics being said, my focus is going to be to bring our attention. I'll ask the board members to look behind tab 6. We've got some legislative focus that I think, Mr. Chairman, we'll need to take some votes on some policies. But as we move there, let me say that for Innovate Alabama, there's been some exciting things already happening legislatively. I mean, we had the game plan, which a lot of that was a part of things that came from Innovate Alabama. Alabama now has the most aggressive incentives to attract industry to our state of any state in the nation. And so those legislators that are a part of the table right here with me today were very engaged with that legislation and being able to move that forward. We've already heard about the Innovation and Small Business Act, which is offering some credits. And the legislature also significantly funded this organization. It has been committed from the beginning, and that has allowed this board to be able to recognize the support not only from the governor but also Alabama's legislature in being able to move innovation forward and doing the things that are so important for us to prepare for the knowledge-based economy that's coming. So with that, we've got a couple of other priorities that I want to mention. We've got 3 policy initiatives here that I want to mention briefly, and if anyone has any more information to add to these, and certainly you can do that. Number 1 is supporting the creation of a small investment fund in Alabama. There's an exemption that would be required that other states like Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee offer that allows small advisors not to have to register with the Securities Commission, but just to fill out some paperwork so that they can have small investments into what we're trying to accomplish for these entrepreneurs to be able to get resources to bring things forward for the success of their business. This creation would be called a de minimis small advisor exemption. And so that's the first policy topic, Cynthia and Mr. Chairman, that I think we need to address. And I think the idea here would be that Innovate Alabama's board would initiate this as a request, and then the legislature would be looking at these items to be able to bring legislation that would allow for their creation. Do we want to vote on these 3 individually or all at one time?
I would suggest, why don't you run through, and if there are questions on individually, we can address them, but otherwise, we can vote on the slate.
Sounds good. Any questions on the de minimis small advisor exemption?
Can I make a comment?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Please, Representative.
It's my understanding that there's a list of 8 states, that Alabama is one of those 8 states that does not have this exemption. And my colleague and I can agree, sometimes you don't mind being on a small list, depending on which side of the aisle you're on. But I think this is a bipartisan agreement. This is not one of the 8. We do not want to be on this list. So I think this is really important for what we're trying to accomplish going forward.
Agreed. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. All right, second policy is to create an educational institute related to, or allowing for educational institutions to be owned by faculty. This is an issue that the first knowledge I had about commercialization came at a meeting I had at the University of South Alabama, of which at that moment I did not know Michael Chambers. I was introduced to him at that meeting. And we talked about a couple of things. This was long before Innovate Alabama was ever moving forward. And he explained a little bit about the teaching that he does on commercialization, an ability for research to be gleaned at our great institutions and then move on to become a very valuable business. And so one of the issues that we want to look at here is an ability for Alabama universities becoming more involved in the creation of startup companies to commercialize their technologies and research, which may result in the acquisition of ownership interests by the university and the faculty that are the inventors. And there are some elements that stand in the way of that being a reality, from Alabama ethics laws and then some policies related to Alabama universities. So if you've got, it's very simple for a guy like me to think, if you've got someone that does phenomenal research, they create a great thing that we all want, then they've got to leave the university if they're going to go try to turn that into a business. And that's not good for the university. It's not good for the individual. So there's several elements there that we need to look at as a modification in that regard. Any questions on that? Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I'll just add, I think what we're saying here is that we're not approving any change of ownership. What we're trying to do is eliminate those conflicts of interest now that could be mitigated that would allow a starter founder who happens to be a faculty member to move forward with a startup and not having a conflict.
And Senator, if I
Yes,
may,
sir.
just on that, and as Mr. Chamber can certainly, explain further than I think this is probably going to be a fluid discussion. It is a very important issue that I believe we probably as an entity need to lead the discussion. But there are going to be issues that may relate to ethics laws and university policies and a variety of complexities. So I would just kind of flag that I think this is a discussion that we truly do need to initiate. It warrants discussion. It is going to be a fluid discussion. Where exactly it ends, I think we'll all have to move through that discussion as it occurs with our university partners and others across the state.
Certainly agree with that, Mr. Chairman. Obviously, what we're doing as Innovate Alabama with a vote we would take on this is just start the discussion on these three topics. And then it would be, of course, the lawmakers in Alabama to make final decision, and university policies and all those things would be to come. The last topic is supporting targeted R&D policies that would promote initiatives that would increase the amount of research and development R&D activities that are performed within the state of Alabama. And this could result in this discussion potentially with the initiation of a research and development tax credit. And so that would be a policy that would incentivize R&D is going to occur within Alabama. In some time, our discussion here would be that it is a limited area of R&D that would be specific for targeted sectors and strength areas that would allow Alabama to be able to promote based on things that are discovered and researched in Alabama. So that's the last topic as a policy. Well, if you're initially you're looking to say, how are we going to promote the policies for R&D development? But eventually, like everything else, it's the money. And so it's going to be a tax credit. So where if you do this under these targeted areas, that are going to be a tax credit as a result of incentivizing these companies. I think it'd be a great model to look at whatever the federal government's doing, and I'm confident we can do it better.
Well, and with that confidence in hand, I would, just for the benefit of the audience and board members too, this policy proposal concludes that such initiatives could be in the form of an R&D tax credit, the creation of innovation districts, or other place-based innovation ecosystem. So I think we're signaling that there are a variety of discussions that are within the scope of the purpose and mission of this Innovate Alabama effort, R&D being one, innovation districts, which are expressly referenced in the original commission report, and others as well. So some flexibility in this to move into some discussions with the legislature.
I would agree, Mr. Chairman. Again, these are just going to be suggestions from Innovate Alabama's board that those that would be interested in taking them up to review them and pursue them and maybe do something with them is going to be our intent.
And to that end, as Senator Reed has indicated, we do not have legislation proposed in language in front of the board. We are not adopting any specific proposal, but rather identifying issues that warrant discussion and engagement with the legislature. So, all right.
Got any other discussion or questions, Mr. Chairman? Cynthia?
No.
Can I make just a comment?
Chairman Garrett.
Speaking to my predecessor as the budget chair, as the education budget chair, you know, we're all aware of the tax credit situation and how difficult that is, and that's a high bar for us to do. in the legislature. There'll be a lot of different organizations wanting tax credits from a variety of sources and businesses. So I think it's important that, I think this highlights the need for us to really educate the legislature, because I think so many of our members don't really understand what Innovate Alabama is all about. And I think that's an ongoing process, because this will be a pretty high bar to get these R&D credits, but we can do it by educating and informing our members.
That was spoken like a true budget chairman. Very diplomatic. Thank you, Chairman Garrett.
With that, Mr. Chairman, if I can make a motion that we adopt these board suggestions to go to the legislature, then I would make that motion.
So moved.
I'll second that
And
motion.
I hear a second. Any other questions or comments? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. All right, that slate of suggested issues to address with policymakers has been adopted.
Over to you for the
All
final
right.
dates.
Well, we have moved through the board agenda efficiently today. I want to thank everybody. For the good of order, I'm going to back up and have one point of clarification. When we talk about the SSBCI funds, I do want to remind, for the benefit of the audience, we're talking about federal funds. That is a federal program. Those are not state dollars. Based upon benchmarks and performance, the state may draw down up to approximately $97 million. So that is a very substantial program. We heard the details about that, but I did want to distinguish those as federal funds as opposed to state funds. As it relates to our future board dates, I think it has been proposed that the board set 4 meetings for the calendar year 2024. The first occurring on March 14th. That to be a virtual meeting in consideration of the fact that the legislature will be in session during that time of the year, and recognizing a lot of demands, particularly on our public officials, but also on everybody during that time of year. So that will be a virtual meeting. Second meeting, June 11th. Third, September 10th. Fourth, December 10th. Of course, we'll post those meeting dates on our new website, which is going to be exciting to see as it rolls out. I would like the board to really think about, I'm going to suggest, but I'd like the board to think about those meetings being in Birmingham. We're beginning to staff up at Innovate Alabama. We're bringing staff on board, moving into a little bit more of a traditional board meeting setting, but certainly we can flex those locations. But it is hard to take the show on the road over and over and over, and I think it would help staff stay focused on mission. But we do need to continue to get our message out, and we may decide to move those around the state. But as we mature this organization, I think that could make sense in terms of efficiency of conduct of our business. Are there any other issues, comments, questions, or concerns for the good of the order? Hearing none, this meeting of the Innovate Alabama Board meeting is adjourned. Thank you all.